Okay, hello. Hi, we're going to try this again. We're going to try to be live, and I chose a filter that's brighter. It is very dark here. It's about to rain and storm again. So, hello everyone. It is Catherine Massell, New Earth Visionary, and we're live. We're in the right place. So, let me see if I can tag. There we go. So, yeah, not a good internet connection. We're storming here. So, thanks for your patience. And I have this beautiful filter because it brightens everything up and it makes my complexion look just on point. Hi, Amanda! So let's talk today about evolving your visionary gifts. We're going to talk about what those are. We're going to talk about what are some of the principles inherent in the visionary woman. Hi, Trinity. Hello. We're going to talk about how one evolves those gifts. Okay. So there'd be a little truth telling here, as usual. But that's okay. That's the way we like it. Hey, Catherine. Let's see who else is joining. Hello. And if you have friends in the group, feel free to invite them. So, evolving your visionary gifts. This is such an important thing to be able to talk about right now. Such an important thing to talk about right now because we are moving through things very quickly, right? And in fact, one of the things that we will talk about, one of the inherent traits of the visionary, is that we outgrow things very quickly. Okay? There is kind of an innate restless spirit to the visionary. Okay? I like to think of a visionary as also being a sacred agitator, a sacred disruptor. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too here. Hi, Tammy. So, evolving your visionary gifts, well, what does that mean? How do you grow them? How do you enhance them? How do you expand them and step into a greater level or expression of them? Like anything else, honestly, it's a skill. It's a skill you possess. Like many other things that we learn how to do, it's an education, it's a process. And that always involves a commitment and a dedication. Visionaries tend to have a little bit more of the dedication and commitment towards evolving their gifts because there is a sense that the vision that they're holding is not only making them an instrument of source. The vision is actually, the vision that women hold makes them an instrument of source, makes them an instrument of the vision first. And any kind of higher vision that you hold that is involved with the betterment of mankind, it is a direct mainline gift from source. So the vision is the conveyance or translation of something from source saying to you, hey, I'm showing you something because you already possess a skill set, some gifts, abilities, inherent talents that allow you to be this conveyance or this vehicle. And we wouldn't hold the vision, we wouldn't have this idea, this feeling, this knowing, if we didn't have inherent talents and abilities that made it available to us to actualize. And this is an important bit. And this is why there's more commitment and dedication involved for people who identify as being visionaries, as being sacred agitators, sacred disruptors. And I mean agitation and disruption in the highest and best way. Because what is collapsing, what is falling away as part of the old structures and systems of old Earth, it's just energy, right? It doesn't, the energy that held those structures in place, it doesn't dissolve. It doesn't go away because energy just it transmutes. It changes form. And so what's really interesting about women right now is that we are holding creation codes for New Earth. We're holding creation codes with sacred disruptor energy, meaning taking what is falling away and collapsing from the old and taking the energetic potential of that and rolling it over, reorganizing. Thank you. That's a great way to say it, Tammy. Rolling that over into creating the template for New Earth. And women hold a really special place because we are holding these creation codes for this template to create the New Earth. It's written into our code. Okay? And there is a sacred expression that comes through, yes, through the concession, the sacrificing, the giving up of any kind of identity that's still tethered to the old earth. That's why it takes a little more dedication and commitment, because not a lot of women want to do that. Let's just face it. It's a safety issue, but I'm going to talk about that too. So evolving your visionary gifts, it's a skill like anything else. You learn it, you practice it in order to evolve it. Girls do in fact rule, folks. And it's our time. It's written into the codes of this timeline, this New Earth timeline, that our procreative expression, our creative abilities are the very thing that ground, the very things that ground this New Earth timeline. It's a very special time for us as women. So how do you know? How do you even know that you're a visionary? How do you know that, or how do you maybe self-identify? Or do you define your reality as being someone who holds a vision, is a visionary, is a luminary, is a sacred agitator, a sacred disruptor, okay? How do you know that? You have at the core of your being a feeling, a knowing. Maybe you see it, know it, hear it, feel it, taste it, doesn't matter, but you have a knowing at some level of you, at some sensory level of you, that there is a higher destiny for mankind. That even with the shit show and the dumpster fire that is planet Earth at the moment, this ain't it. It doesn't stop here. This isn't finite. No feeling is final, no situation is final. Even though it may seem like a protracted experience, what's happening here on planet Earth, that is not satisfactory to you. There's no fulfillment in this kind of stasis and this prolonged kind of liminal space that we seem to be finding ourselves in. It's not, this ain't it, in other words. And the visionary, the luminary, the sacred agitator knows that. But she also knows that there is quite a bit of stubbornness in most of mankind, and those who would hold us back from ascending into our higher destiny, which means there's more egalitarian ways of being for all. There's more fair-mindedness that could take hold on planet Earth. There are a lot of people on this planet who do not want that, okay? And there are a lot of strings being pulled to make us feel like there is a lot of, instability in creating something new, that it's not safe, that you won't be taken care of, that it's not secure. And so those who would hold us back from this ascension process of bringing in the New Earth timeline are involved in constant messaging around, you're never going to be safe doing something new. It's never going to be safe or stable creating something that does not smack of the old, does not look like, feel like, sense in some way to you like it's the old Earth. And we can't ever go back to it. Here's the thing. So this is really part of this tapestry of illusion that, even though with a lot of the messaging during the pandemic and other things that, if we do this, we'll return to normal. It's like dangling a phantom carrot in front of most of the population, because there is no returning to normal, because we can never go back to what was. That is not possible. You cannot recreate a way of being that existed before all this pandemic, because we have evolved past it. We have enlightened and illuminated new creation codes within our DNA and our cellular programming that simply does not resonate with that space anymore. We've moved past it. So in any way, shape, or form that we're resonating with the messaging of, oh, we'll do this, just comply, and we'll all go back to normal. It's a fucking lie. And the visionary knows that and sees it and feels a need to disrupt it. But it's a healthy disruptor energy. It's a healthy detractor or disruptor energy. Because it's like saying, well, I know we can't go back to that. And it's a completely illusory construct to go back to that. But the energetic potential that we would use to try to recreate that, faulty at best and misplaced at best, it can be used in a much better way. It can be used in a way that's more egalitarian and creates more of a fair balance, a fair shake for more on this planet. Something that benefits the many rather than the few. And women are holding these creation codes. They're very sacred, and it's very special, and it's time to actualize them, okay? But it does take a bit of bravery. It takes some boldness. It takes some spunk, some spirit, some moxie, if you want to call it that, to be able to have the courage and the confidence to be able to speak it into being. Women have an incredible ability to speak spells into being simply by speaking the truth that's in their heart. And yet oftentimes we're reluctant to do it because it feels unsafe. You know, we do bear the burden as women of having a persecution complex that has been protracted over thousands of years. Whether you want to hearken it back to the burning times, religious persecution of the divine feminine, and the not so subtle suppression of pagan feminine themes that the Christian church is responsible for, that Christianity is responsible for, or any of the big three, because let's face it, it's in Judaism and Islam as well as Christianity. We have a fear of brutality and violence that has been levied against us for thousands of years. So, of course, we are bearing the burden and the weight of feeling unsafe and speaking our truth. But you have to ask yourself this, especially if you resonate with visionary energy, and I'll talk more about those principles in a moment. But you have to ask yourself this, if you're holding on to that in any way, shape, or form, that if there's so much brutality and violence that has been levied against women because they speak their truth and because they have the ability to speak what's in their heart and create a spell, cast an energy, or create a sphere of influence from that, why is it the only answer to suppress women in that way is to shut them up so completely so that there would be death or so much trauma and wounding so that they would never do it again? In other words, why is there so much to fear from women speaking their truth? Why are men specifically and historically so threatened by that? Because we hold real power. And so here's the transition of this in New Earth. Where it may have been fear before, rightly placed, of course, because the threat of violence, persecution, even death was very real. But we're not in the burning times anymore, okay? But here's where this has transmuted within us. Those who hold the ability to be able to speak truth into being, speak truth into creating spells or spheres of influence that change this planet for the greater good, it has kind of mutated into righteous anger. So the power that we hold as women is kind of this righteous fury. And one of the things that I was really grappling with at the end of 2021 and going through yet another dark night of the soul and transitioning and moving through things very quickly was this righteous anger, this righteous fury that I was holding. And revolving around this feeling of, why does this go so deep within me? Why does this feel such like a deep and ancient resonance of being really fucking angry that we're still here, that we're still doing this to each other, that we're still othering each other? And we've done this throughout millennia. We're just doing it in a different way now, whether it's people who are vax, anti-vax, whether it's people who are pro-jab, anti-jab, whether it's people who are pro-abortion, anti-abortion, whether it's people who are Trump or, Trumpers or not Trumpers, whether it's, anything in society, philosophical, religious, educational, medical, or otherwise, there's always an othering. And for those of you who resonate with visionary energy, it makes you fucking furious. Let's just call it out and say for what it is. Melissa, I feel the exact same fury. Yes. Okay. Now, placed in a balanced way, anger, and particularly fury, has a lot of energetic mana for creation. You might think of, when we think of the emotional spectrum of vibration here, that we have this vast expanse of an emotional spectrum that we experience here on planet Earth. There is really nothing like 3D planet Earth emotional spectrum in terms of the energetic scale and the breadth that we experience here. From what my spirit team, my guides have shown me, and they've shown me this many times, we have this bandwidth of energy that is really like no other. And there are other 3D experiences and 3D planets, but it's experienced like nowhere else like it is on planet Earth, this range, emotional range. And when we think of the emotional range of something like anger or fury, rage, we might think of it as actually being something that places really low vibration-wise on this emotional scale, because we have a scale, right? So among the lower vibrating emotional states, we have shame. Okay, another instrument wielded against women so that we'll stay in our place. Shame is huge. Shame about speaking out of turn, shame about our bodies, shame about what our bodies do. I mean, we have shame about our blood, right? We have shame about how we smell. We have shame about where we carry extra weight in our body. I mean, it doesn't end. We have shame about how we conduct ourselves in public. It is an instrument wielded against us so that we stay in our place. Shame is a very, very low vibrational energy. So is guilt, so is blame, so is resentment. Anger, even fury or rage, places higher on the energetic scale. And there's something really special about these emotions because they have an energetic momentum behind them. They have an energetic of, when you feel these things, you tend to want to actualize them, meaning they come out of your head, out of your heart, out of your body in some way, and they have to translate into form, into physical reality. They have a material expression, in other words. So furious anger, righteous anger, tends to have this momentum behind it where we tend to do something with it. Now, what we tend to do with it is a whole different conversation, but for the visionary, it can be energetic mana. It's fuel for creating something that's more beneficial for all. Okay? So those of you who are carrying this anger, those of you who are carrying this fury, because of how still in this day and age we are conducting our day-to-day reality in exchange with others in the human family, and it makes us sick to our stomachs sometimes. It makes us feel so disheartened. It makes us feel so hopeless. Even in that hopelessness, there's great energetic potential and great energetic mana. It's what you do with that that makes all the difference. And the visionary, what sets the visionary apart is that she tends to do something more wholesome with this energy, because everything about the visionary is alchemical. Whether it's you hold a vision that is really just an instrument of source communicating with you like, hey, this is for you because you have the special, unique skill set, gifts, and talents to be able to bring this through and actualize it on the material plane. So the vision you hold is a gift bestowed directly upon you from the divine. It's uniquely for you. But often we'll refuse the call because we think it's too big for us. It's not for us. I can't possibly be a human and then be this visionary at the same time. Those aren't mutually exclusive states. You can hold the energy for both. And the contemporary intentional visionary must hold the energy and be a vessel for both, because we have to conduct our day-to-day activities. People rely on us. We rely on ourselves. We have to do our humaning, right? But the rub and the wrinkle of this is when we hold this visionary energy and it feels big, it's palpable, it has something that's taking up energetic real estate within us and we can't deny it. But then we say, but I have my humaning to do. I got to deal with my kids, or I got to deal with my parents, or I have to, complete this task or project, what I have to do for work, all that, etc. And we tend to push out the vision, the thing that's taking up valuable, palpable, electric, energetic real estate within us. We feel it, we know it, we can't deny it. And so what we'll do is say, well, the humaning is too important because I just got to get by. I got to get through this week. I have to pay this bill. I have to be this person. I have to step into this role for my family, my community, etc. And we think of these things then as being mutually exclusive. But here's the thing about visionary energy, and here's what the visionary knows. That all the energetic mana, all the fuel that is used to have you be an instrument for the vision, and thereby, by extension, an instrument of source, that doesn't come from your human. So the thing, if it does get separated out, you doing your human stuff, and then you being, in full fulfillment and dedication to being a visionary and creating a higher potential, more egalitarian way on this planet, anchoring the new earth codes that are inherent in your DNA and your cellular programming. The energy you use for that visionary energy does not come from your human. It can't. Your human and what is funded by ego energy has no idea what that is. So what we have to do and what is incumbent upon us as visionaries is to be able to ask for the energy and be available for the energy to come from a different place, meaning coming directly from source. So that means we make ourselves available and we allow for and stay open to solutions that come not from the ego, but come from source. And they can come through our spirit team, they can come through our guides, they can even come through our ancestors sometimes, if we have ancestors that are in integrity with source. Some of them aren't. Some of them are working out stuff in other timelines still. So does this make sense? So I will be honest with you, a lot of women on this planet are holding a lot of visionary energy, meaning they see a higher and better way for this planet. They may even see a little bit more than that. They may have threads and an availability of knowing in their timelines that they're working with, in the multidimensional expressions of self, like how to take these things and make them more real and tangible, practical, workable, usable in the earth plane. Meaning they don't just live as an idea, some nebulous concept. It's got a little more depth, it's got a little more teeth. But oftentimes, and I will say this boldly, but very truthfully and in integrity, there are a lot of women who hold this visionary energy, but they refuse the call because of what I just talked about. And another thing is thinking that it's too big for me. It's too big for me. Well, what do we know about the vision from what I've talked about? If you have it, it's taking up valuable energetic real estate within you, meaning it's not something you just thought of as a one-off and it never came back to you again. This vision, this kind of inkling, this touchstone within you, it comes back, it comes around. Often. Keeps knocking on your door saying, are you going to do anything with this? I'm here. I'm here. This energy is here. What are you going to do with me? How are you going to evolve me? How are you going to work with me instead of feeling like I'm some, unwelcome guest staying in your house? Which is how a lot of women who are refusing the call, that's how they treat their vision. So if you have it, it's in your awareness. It's meant for you. And another part of refusing the call is, hi G, is thinking that it's too big for me. Well, if you can resonate with what I'm saying, that the energy that allows you to be an instrument of this vision, and by extension, an instrument of source to ground a higher and better way on this planet, that energy comes directly from source. It doesn't come from ego. It doesn't come from void energy. It comes from love. It doesn't come from fear. It comes from an eternal, infinite, boundless, energetic supply of resources, synchronicities. It doesn't ever tap out. The problem is we're not turning our attention and focus and awareness to this funding source within our own very energetic field, okay? Our very own energetic field, this exists. But we keep trying to pull this energy from the ego to help us out with this vision. It's not going to work. And that's why you give up on it. And that's why you're like, oh, this must not be meant for me. Here's a big part of that. When you say it's too big for me, okay, and there's more women than not on this planet who are saying this, to be honest, you have to understand that cultivating and evolving your visionary gifts, it's a skill, it's a practice, it's a mindset, it's a dedication. It's moving into heart-based frequencies instead of fear-based frequencies. This is something that when you feel you have to refuse the call of this vision because you think it's too big for you, it's not that. You're getting it all wrong. What it is really is it's an invitation for you to step into your power. It's an invitation for you to rise up and step into this vision. Allow yourself to be overcome by it in a sense. So, a lot of the saints and a lot of, even in mythology and not just in Christianity or in even the big three religions, a lot of times there'd be, saints or visionaries who were overcome by an angelic presence or a message. The visionary energy is the exact same as that. And so, any of the saints or the gods or goddesses, even Buddha himself, if he refused the call of the vision, where would we be? Who would we be holding up as these kind of pariahs or these examples that, we can be available for something bigger? And it's just a change in our direction. It's a change in our focus. It's a change in where we decide to pull energetic resources and fuel from. We have to cultivate and grow our vessel to be able to wield and hold visionary energy. So any of you who are saying it's too big for me, please understand it is an invitation from Source for you to step up to meet this energy where it's at. Not for you to constantly feel like, well, I'm over here and this vision is over there, or what I would do with it is over there. No, it's an invitation to rise up. It's an invitation to cultivate, to wield, and hold your energy in a different, more wholesome way so that you can meet the energetic of the vision, be overcome by it, and then reap all the resources of someone who brings this energy to life on the material plane. And this sounds like really big stuff. It is. But here's the thing, when you allow yourself to step into this and you cultivate your vessel to be able to wield and hold this energy in a really sacred way, you reap all the rewards of being an instrument of this vision. You reap all the rewards of being an instrument of Source. But right now, refusing the call, you can't see this from where you're at. It is a different energetic perspective. It is a higher vantage point that you haven't opened yourself up to allow in yet. yet. And does this resonate for you? Are any of you feeling this? That there's something so big, something so palpable, even if it doesn't translate for you just yet, or you can't put your finger on it, or maybe you don't have the words to articulate it, but it feels big. It feels like movement. It might even feel like Melissa said, this kind of righteous anger within you. That will always connote momentum. It will always connote some time of, or some feeling of action needs to take hold. And you might be thinking, well, I'm in this liminal space, I'm in this waiting period. Okay. Because I'm waiting for all the pieces to come together, or I'm waiting for this particular thing, or this amount of money, or this person to come in my life, or this person to go out of my life, whatever that is. Anywhere you're doing that, you're diverting your attention, your focus, your awareness to your human, okay? Instead of this feeling that, well, if I can see this vision, if I can hold this vision, if I can feel and know this vision, then 100% I know it's meant for me. And if I say yes to the call, because that's part of every hero or heroine's journey, the hero's journey is, you know, the archetypal story of triumph, right? And it's not exclusive to just men. It's exclusive to men and women. But there's always that point in the hero's journey, in this mythical story of our entire reality here on planet Earth, really, of refusing the call. We all come to this place of refusing the call. And think about, if you're a big fan of Greek myth, which I am, you know, the gods, the titans, all of that. I love all those stories. They're so fascinating. But when you think about the hero's journey in terms of Greek mythology, the refusing the call part is the pivot point. So if the hero decides to refuse the call, he can't ever see, she can't ever see the potentials that lie ahead of accepting and surrendering to something bigger than him or herself. And the visionary is willing to do this, to say yes and to surrender to and to allow themselves to be enraptured by the wholesomeness of something that is bigger than themselves. That's a big place to be. But here's the thing. This New Earth timeline is that pivot point. Many women who are holding these creation codes will refuse the call, sad but true, because they don't feel that what is next, and surrendering to the vision and the wholesomeness and the outlying energy of what is next, they don't feel that it is something that is bigger than and better than where they are now or where they've been. The refusing the call often happens when the connection and the tethering to the identity that has built you up to where you are now is bigger than the enticement, the excitement, the curious anticipation of who you are becoming and where you are going. I want you to sit with that for a second. If you are heavily invested in the safety, even if it doesn't feel good on most days, if you are tethered to and highly connected to the safety of the identity of you as you have been up until this very point right now, and that feels bigger, it has more of an energetic hold on you than the excitement, the enticement, the provocative nature of where you could be or what you could be becoming or where you could be going, then you will refuse the call. And you're also opting into saying, I'm willing to not ever see what's possible for me. I'm not willing, and I'm not here to be a participant in saying yes to something that feels unfamiliar, saying yes to something that feels like it's not going to look like anything that was before. And that's what the New Earth timeline is all about. We're seeing it now. We're creating it moment to moment. We're creating new paradigm systems and structures that are not looking like and are not going to look like the way things have looked before. And so much of staying in our old identity is tethered to this idea of safety. And we know now, we can see, and it's highly illuminated, that a lot of the structures and systems that held our reality in place here on planet Earth have not been very wholesome, have not been very good, have not been built on a stable foundation of integrity. You can't not see that now. So if the fear is taking you over and saying, God, we can't possibly recreate and reinvent our reality, I'm here to tell you that you are fucking wrong about that. You're fucking wrong. And I don't like to say that too often, except when it comes from a higher place of truth. And I will go even further to say that it is women who are going to recreate and reinvent the paradigms, structures, and systems, and it's going to be built on more egalitarian, more wholesome energy that benefits the many instead of the few. And you can't really see how that will fully play out because you haven't surrendered yet. You haven't opted in yet to the fullness of your visionary gifts. And it's not like you say yes and it all unfolds in the moment. A lot of it can unfold very, very quickly. And you can move through the energy very quickly when you say yes to answering the call instead of refusing the call. But what you're saying yes to is cultivating your energy, cultivating your field, your sphere of influence, your heart-based frequencies that you occupy. It's saying yes to cultivating that and evolving it and growing it so that you can match the energy of the vision that you're meant to be here to express. It's a process like anything else. It's something you learn. It's a skill set that you grow and expand and dedicate yourself to. Lots of visionaries suffer from this affliction. And it is because I felt it for a long time, so I can speak about this truthfully. A lot of visionaries suffer from this anxiety of not knowing who they truly are. They feel like they don't fit here on planet Earth. They feel like they question everything. They feel like they often question authority, even though they may do it in a more quiet way. They maybe have always done that. Questioned, well, why is it this way? Why is the sky blue? Why does God do or say this? Why do people behave this way? Why are these the norms of society? Who decided? Right? And so the visionary is always in this kind of flux and this kind of liminal space of questioning that which is, but not really knowing her placement. And the reason is because she is meant to create her placement. And until that realization and that knowing settles within her in a place where it feels like, okay, I can be brave and courageous enough to do this. I can create my placement. I do it with how I anchor my voice and speak truth that comes from my heart. I do it with how I treat others. I do it with holding higher principles of unity consciousness, meaning I can be compassionate witness to everyone here on the planet. I may not agree with them. I may have and engage in often active debate with people whom I disagree with, but I can still have compassionate witness energy for them. I can appreciate that even they are contributors to the evolution of this planet, even if it doesn't jibe with what I think or feel or know, or how I enact my reality. There's room for everybody here, in other words. But you'll have this kind of anxiety of not knowing who you are. When you answer the call of a visionary, you understand inherent with that admission and inherent in that decision, that inner decision to answer the call, is knowing that you are a placeholder for something new to take hold on this planet. Lofty, I know, but that's what it is. That you're going to be a rule breaker, a status disruptor, a healthy agitator, because you're here to do things differently, and you've always known it. And those of you who are really resonating with everything I'm saying here, let's let the bullshit slide here. Let's let it go. You've always known that you're here to do things differently. You look out at the world and you see the way that things are done, the way people treat each other, the way exchanges take place on this planet, and you know there is something better available there, something far better. And we've only begun to scratch the surface of realizing, labeling, putting a finger on what that is. Okay? Yes or no? Who knows they're here to do things differently? I have been questioning things my whole fucking life. I was the kid that when I was in Sunday school had to sit in the corner. I had to go to Sunday school 2 days a week. I had to go on Wednesdays and on Sundays. I had to go on Sundays before church, and I had to go on Wednesdays before school to have religious instruction. Catechism classes. Oh, God, did I hate it. And whether it was a nun or a priest conducting the classes, I was always asking questions. Always. I was 9, 10, 11 years old. I can't tell you how many times I had to sit in the corner because I was disrupting class. I was taking away from the experience of everyone else who was willing to be the good little girl or good little boy in class. Even at that tender age, fuck that shit was my energy. And you know what? It has not changed. Do I think it's a coincidence that I'm born into this timeline where we are collapsing the old daily and we are moving through, we are accelerating through energies very, very quickly and transmuting things so that we can anchor the new? Do I think that it's a coincidence that I'm born in this timeline? Fuck no. I know I'm supposed to be here. I know that I'm here to be an agitator. I know that I'm a disruptor. Am I here to do it in a healthy way? So that through the ripple effect of the heart-based frequencies I hold, the love-based frequencies that actualize what I do I think that that can anchor a better reality on the planet? Abso-frickin-lutely. Do I teach and share and speak and write about things that back all that up? You better fucking believe it. I am a visionary. I am a sacred agitator. Did I refuse the call? At one point, yes. I used to think that, oh, I'll just be happy being an esthetician. Oh, I'll just be happy being a career bartender. Oh, I'll just be happy working for this cosmetic company. Oh, I'll just be happy, blah, 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 blah. Maybe I'll do this. Did some of it make me a lot of money? Yes. But did any of it fill me up and align me with something that I know I was meant to be here to do? No. Not until I said yes to this. So I'm getting a lot of yeses. Christy says yes. Shante says yes. So don't be afraid of not knowing, of not feeling whole, of having this anxiety of, kind of being in this liminal space, like, oh, I'm waiting for things to get back to normal in society, or I'm waiting for, this kind of energy to come in, or to finally get this book, or, to step into this space and do a few more sessions with these clients before I can call myself this, or do this with my practice or energy or work, or whatever. It's the anxiety of not knowing who you are that is making you feel like the next best thing can come in and then I'll know. You have to declare it now. that you are a seer, that you are a visionary, that you are a sacred agitator, that you are a sacred disruptor, you are a sacred rebel. You are a sacred creator of New Earth. When you make the inner decision to define that for yourself, and whatever that looks like, because it's going to be unique to anyone and everyone who would wear the mantle of any of those things that I just called out. It's going to be very unique for every single one of us, because we all have our own individuated expression. But until you make that claim, and you name and claim, I am a healthy agitator, I am a sacred rebel, I am a sacred disruptor, I am a visionary and a seer and a placeholder for New Earth. Until you name and claim that for yourself and start doing something about it, I can tell you this from experience. What it feels like it's costing you is going to be the overriding energy that is going to be guiding what you do, how you feel. And that's incredibly disruptive to you in a very unwholesome way. Because then you're allowing ego to fund your energy instead of source. Don't be afraid of not, feeling into the fullness of this vision yet. Don't be afraid of that. Be more afraid of what it's costing you to not do anything about it. Because again, if you have that awareness, it's meant for you. So how do you evolve the gifts that you have? So if you're resonating with what I'm saying so far, you see the world differently. You have a feeling and knowing, even if you can't place a finger on or fully articulate what that knowing is yet, what that vision is yet, but you know it's there, it's undeniable. You've always felt this kind of energy of questioning everything, questioning authority, knowing that you were meant to do things differently here. It's a knowing. It's a very, very deep feeling for you. You also have this feeling that it's an ever-evolving state for you. And that once you step into it and say yes to it, it's like an acceptance of all the culmination of the wisdom that goes along with that. Because it's a frequency match. So many of us are here in a culmination timeline as we're wrapping up a lot of our history of 3D. Throughout many timelines, lifetimes, etc. That's how we anchor New Earth. We have to close out a lot of culmination timelines, meaning all of the energy that has risen up from all the timelines, lifetimes here in 3D Earth, and our participation with it. Because let's face it, those of us who are old souls, we've been around for millennia. I'm not talking hundreds or thousands of years. If you're a really old soul, you've been around for millions of years. Okay? So in this saying yes, this answering the call, what you are saying yes to is also the culmination of all of this knowledge, the fullness of the expression of your visionary gifts, the fullness of the feminine force of change that's been here on this planet and is now a latent energy that's coming up and is fully available for impact that changes the lives of others. We're all available for this now, but we have to be a frequency match for it. That means you've got to say yes. You've got to say yes to being a visionary. You've got to say yes to answering the call. You've got to say yes to being someone who's a healthy agitator in order to create better impact for the greater good of all. So all that wisdom and guidance that has culminated over many, many 3D lifetimes, when you say yes, when you answer the call, all of that comes up and it puts a higher expression of your gifts online and available for you. That means greater level of resources, because that's how Source works. It makes your skills, your talents and abilities that much more potent, that much more palpable. It allows you to craft and actualize your unique vision from having a greater availability of these resources that are latent, but now that you've said yes, it all comes up. It's all available. You also end up saying yes, or when you say yes, you end up accessing a different frequency that allows ideas, creative potentials to flood into your awareness. I'm talking like downloaded messages, nudges from source, synchronicities with people, endless amounts of resources, and they can come in many, many forms to help you keep funding your vision. When you say yes, the help arrives. Believe me. And you recognize that you are a catalyst for change when you say yes. And that emboldens you. When you say yes and you occupy that frequency of saying yes to being a visionary, what you're saying yes to is that you are a catalyst for change. Whether that means you're here to bring forth through your artwork, you're a painter, a sculptor, maybe you create music compositions, maybe you have courses or programs, or you're a teacher and mentor like I am. Even if it feels like what you're holding looks like nothing else out there, that's when you especially know that you're meant to say yes to your visionary gifts and availabilities. I'm crying right now because there's so much frustration with me not answering my call and siphoning off so much energy. And that's the thing. The anxiety and the frustration, it comes from not saying yes. I'm sorry. But it's true. And I can say this in full integrity because I've been there. Inherent in not saying yes and refusing the call of being a visionary, of being a leader, etc., in that same energy that kind of wraps you up and you feel enfolded in this energy of no, you feel enfolded and engulfed in this energy of no, it will always feel like suffering. It will always feel like struggling. And we often think that, well, if I say yes to this and it's totally new and it's like something I've never done before and I have to be in this different frequency and I have to develop, more of my skill set to do this, then I'm just going to suffer and struggle more. The thinking is backwards. The thinking is backwards. When you say yes and you are willing to be an instrument of your vision, you're willing to be an instrument of source, what you're also saying yes to is that I don't know what these resources and this support and this guidance is going to look like, but I know saying yes to this means that I'm saying yes to all of that that's there and then some. I don't know how it's going to show up, but I know it does. And the hardest thing, the hardest step you'll take is fully surrendering and fully stepping into that. But once you do, all of these things begin to unlock. Doors that felt like they were closed to you before, they open up. And windows. Doors, windows, cubby holes, crawl spaces, it's all open. Okay? But from our limited ego's perspective, that is choosing safety, which is a fucking illusion, by the way. So this is what I wanted to talk about, and I think this is a good segue. We fear losing our safety when we answer something that feels big. When we say yes to something that feels big. The first inkling is that the ego that is built and programmed to scan for threats starts looking at, oh, you better not do that. You've never done that before. Who are you to do that? And all the other bullshit that starts to come in. And that's a trigger, a programming that is very ancient software that's built into our human, that is built to scan for threats. And so a threat is anywhere we don't feel safe. But here's the thing about safety. Even though we crave it and we've built our lives around it, we've tethered our identities to it, this idea of safety and stability, there isn't a more illusory construct. You know why? Because a lot of the things that we use to build up our idea about safety, they are external to our inner reality. If I have more money outside of me, then I'll be safe. If I have a great house, then I'll be safe. If I have a good car that's brand new, then I'll be safe. If I have a really good accountant and fiduciary that manages my investments, then I'll be safe. All of these things that we build this idea of safety up for ourselves, and how we build this idea of safety up for ourselves, they are all concepts outside of us. They are all external attachments. Anything that is an external projection that we think of as reality is an illusory, temporary concept. It doesn't It doesn't have a finite ability. It's not an endless supply. What's safe for you one day, probably not going to be safe for you tomorrow or next week. You think money keeps you safe? Money goes away. You think a car keeps you safe? A car can get in a wreck. Anything that's outside of you that you're using to build up this idea of what makes me feel safe in here is completely illusory. It's temporary by design. It is not finite. And it is part of the 3D projection of reality that is a hologram. The only thing, the only real true safety is you aligning with what you feel in your heart, is what is aligned with heart-based frequencies, is what is aligned with truth with a capital T, meaning what comes in as nudges, information, downloaded messages that come directly from source and lights you up right here. It makes you want to speak it into being. That brings you this feeling of resonating with an energy that feels larger than life. If there is safety at all, it is in aligning your energy with that, with spirit, with source, with truth, with love, with heart-based frequencies. Anything else is an illusion. Does that make sense? I want to read some of the comments here. Thank you for this today. I needed to hear all this. I'm so glad. As always, divine timing with your messages. You're welcome. Hearing this is such a huge relief for me. I hope so, and I'm glad to hear that. Declaring that I allow myself to keep developing my skill set as I'm doing this. Cubby holes are opening up all around me, right? And when we start to say yes to this, it's like we take our blinders off. We see things in our periphery. We see things over here. When we have this myopia of thinking, well, I'm just going to pursue what feels safe, you are literally closing yourself off from and pushing away at source, who's constantly trying to say, hey, if you just say yes to this, I got all these goodies over here. I got all this bounty. I got all this booty waiting for you to just match the frequency of receiving it. And how do we match the frequency of seeing it? Feeling it, knowing it, acquiring it, saying yes. And that dedication, that commitment piece that a visionary must have is about saying yes also to constantly developing and evolving the visionary gifts, the skill set, the already inherent talents and abilities and gifts that you have. There is a willingness that the visionary has to embrace change and take risks, because at her core she knows that this is what is involved in bringing the sacred vision that she holds to life. So those of you like me who've maybe kind of lived their life by the seat of their pants, I've moved many times all over the planet. I'm very adaptable. I tend to pick up in new places and start. I've started over in my life many times before, and I'm very adaptable. I find what works for me and is resourceful to me in my environment, and I pull from what is around me because I know that this is where I'm meant to be. So anything that's available here, if I'm here to commit to change and a new vision wherever I happen to land physically on this planet, that I know that I can always pull from resources that are there. I'm adaptable. Change does not scare me. And in fact, at this very auspicious time on planet Earth, everything is about change. So this is my wheelhouse. And I'm really good at helping other women be able to use that feeling of change is good. And taking risks, doing things that we haven't been willing to be so bold or courageous with before. If you haven't done it now, if you haven't done it before, now is the time. Now is the time. And so you strengthen the power within as your visionary gifts continue to evolve. You have to strengthen the power within. You have to create more resilience. It does take a kind of mental toughness to be a visionary. So you have to be willing to evolve that gift. Because, you know, for the visionary, you're not always you're not always going to be. I just have to be truthful here. You're not always going to be the biggest hit at parties. You're not always going to be the biggest, um, the one who is like has the most followers, or you're not going to be the Tony Robbins of the world. I'm sorry, you're just not. Your energy is available and savory to a more select, discerning number of people on this planet. But those who do jibe with you really get you. They really get you. And they keep coming back for more. And you get to live by example to these people who really, really get you. Because when you are in a visionary status, when you're in a sacred disruptor status, you're willing to hold a certain amount of authenticity, genuineness, generosity, compassionate witness energy, because you tend to want a greater way of being on the planet for all, not just the few. You tend to have an integrity of spirit, and you end up being a beacon in that way for others to find you. Will it be thousands and millions of followers online? Probably not. But the visionary isn't looking for Facebook likes. That's really surface. The visionary doesn't work surface. She goes deep. And let's just be honest, there aren't a lot of people on this planet who really want to go there. But for the people that do, they really will get you. And those people, you'll create more of a authentic tribe. And if you're after authenticity like I am, it doesn't matter if, you know, there's 15 women rather than 1,500. How many of those 1,500 people that like or follow me are authentically following and not even following, but jibing with, resonating with this message? What I say is relatable to them. It reaches them where they're at. I'm not pandering to them. I'm not speaking in tongues. They get it. And those people will tend to stay with you for a long time and grow with you and be willing to evolve with you. That to me means more than having 30,000 followers online. I don't want surface. I've never been about surface. I'm not after that. I'm after impact. And even if you do this work of being a visionary and you impact 10 women, but those 10 women also have, each of them, 10 women, 15 women, 20 women who are following them, resonating with their message. The impact might take a while to take hold on this planet, but His Spirit is always telling me there's no rush. A lot of times we conflate impact with, it's got to be now, it's got to all happen now. I disagree. It's a slow burn because it needs to take hold and take deeper roots. Something that creates impact really fast, that's called trending. I don't want a fucking trend. I'm here for impact. I'm here for roots. I'm here for going deep. I'm here for something that penetrates all the layers of our existence and takes hold and grows and pays off in dividends over time. That's the impact that visionaries and sacred disruptors and sacred agitators are after. Do you jibe with that? Do you resonate with that? So involving those gifts, those visionary gifts, yes, it's a higher kind of emotional intelligence of being in those heart-based frequencies of knowing there is something better for all, not just for me. And I'm going to grow it and cultivate it over time. I'm going to be it, and I'm going to lead by example because I let myself be enshrouded in the vision. I let myself be an instrument of the vision and by extension, an instrument of source. And I know that when I say yes to that, everything that comes with that, all of the gifts, all of the perks, all of the benefits, all of the bounty that comes with that, I may not know what that looks like, but I know it will show up, and it'll show up exactly as I need it to guide me, to support me, and to lift me up so that I can rise even more. This is a sacred journey that is not for the many. It's for the few. It is for a select number of us who know that everything that I said here, we're here to do things differently. It is for those who are willing to evolve their gifts into a kind of mental toughness, because a lot of people will misinterpret you at first. That's just how it is. If you're after being accepted and liked and understood, maybe visionary is not for you. There are other things that you can do to fulfill a calling to bring a more egalitarian way of being on the planet. But there's kind of an inner stubbornness, there's an inner dedication, there's a boldness, there's a courage, there's a willingness to speak the truth, even if it's unpopular. There's a willingness to hold an energy that feels very powerful, might even feel like righteous anger. Not everybody's going to jibe with that. You may not have 1 million followers online. You're not the Tony Robbins or the Oprahs of the world. That's okay. No judgment. But having this visionary status and cultivating it and growing it and evolving it, it is about deeper impact that affects all layers and levels of human experience. Because we have to be honest with the fact that if we're creating a new earth paradigm, it has to affect all layers and levels of who we are. If we as women are holding this visionary status energy, we are holding the paradigm, the template for new earth in our cellular coding. And those who step up as visionaries, healthy agitators to actualize that, it has to be able to affect all layers and levels of our human experience. Because then it's just a simple way of being. Then it's just a level of experience. That's not new earth. It's new something, but it's not new everything. New earth affects everything. Every fabric and fiber of our being and our sense of reality. That goes deep. So don't kid yourself. Visionary energy is big. Absolutely resonates while feeling triggered at the same time. And that's good, because it should scare you a little bit. But it should have more of an excitement, a curious expectation or anticipation that is also ignited in you. Like the visionary will always ask, what could this look like? How does this get better? How does this evolve in a higher and better way over time? Cultivating visionary gifts is about being able to ask these bigger questions and being able to sit with the vision long enough that it might scare her a little bit, but it's entirely more provocative and enticing and exciting, palpable. It has an electricity to it. It feels big. It overtakes you. That kind of enrapturing, just like the saints that we've read about in the Bible or any kind of texts, right? Of being overtaken by something that's bigger than themselves. That's what visionary energy is. And so evolving your visionary gifts, that's where we're at if you are resonating with this message. And if you've been following me or paying attention, you know that I am teaching. I call it an accelerator because when we say yes to this, the accelerator energy accelerates the anchoring of the new earth paradigm and the new earth template and way of being. It accelerates the movement of things in our life that we've been asking for. So it is in the micro and the macro. So this is an accelerator. It's a mastermind, and I call it that because it's exclusive to 8 women. So there's 9 of us doing this work together. There's 9 of us alchemizing and creating passageways to bring this vision to life, to actualize and bring our vision into form. It's also a place where we cultivate our visionary gifts. So this is a unique accelerator. It's a sanctuary for us 9 women. Because when we start this program, the Lotus Throne, we meet 2 days a week for 9 weeks. We'll actually have 19 sessions total because the first day we meet is on April 4th. But Tuesdays and Fridays is when we meet, so we meet twice a week. So we are accelerating the work we do together because we're not just meeting once a week, we're meeting twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. And Tuesdays are for cultivating your visionary gifts in very real, very tangible ways. How do you accentuate and enhance and grow what you're already working with as a visionary? And then Fridays is more of a tangible actualization of the vision that you are trying to cultivate and bring into form. I am very good as an alchemist and a passage creator of being able to do that. So when I bring visions to life, when you bring a vision to life, what you're doing is working with a very high frequency energy that exists in dimensional realms beyond 3D, beyond 4D. And so we have to be able to reverse engineer the vision that comes to us by being able to create steps. It's like lattice work, creating a ladder or building a bridge so that we can reverse engineer the vision and make it tangible in a world of density, in a world of form. This is my gift as an alchemist and a passage creator and a visionary, is to be able to build this. This is how I create my courses. Timelines Expanded Masterclass would not be able to exist without this ability. Quantum Quintessence, where we study 4, 5, 6, and 7D, wouldn't exist without me being able to be an alchemist and a passage creator for this. And so I'm going to use those abilities and help you to cultivate your own so that you can do this too and build this vision out. Even if it feels scary, even if it feels scary and so out there and doesn't look like something that has been done before, then I'm definitely speaking to you. Because we're here to do things differently. And don't be scared or held back by, well, it's not going to look like what it's looked like before or what's already out there. Be more scared by what it's costing you to not bring this in to form. And what it's costing and how it's holding back those you are here to serve. And if you're after impact, you are here to serve the collective. You're here to anchor something better and higher into the collective for the benefit of all. And when you don't answer the call, you're saying no to that. You are holding back those who you are here to resonate with, jibe with, and build as your tribe and your community, and who are also here to help anchor the new earth paradigm and template. So this starts on April 4th. This is a 9-week program. We meet twice a week. If you are interested in this, reach out. I'm going to put the link down below so you can read more about it. There is a client application that I would like you to fill out because I want to know where you're at, where you would like to be going, what you're working with, what kind of energy you have to know if you're a right fit for this program. But if this is you and you resonate with everything we've talked about here, please answer the call. This is an incredibly unique program, and I can boldly say, like nothing else out there, in the way that it's going to be shared, in the way the information is going to be disseminated, and what you're going to build for yourself in this 9-week program together. So lots of love and peace. Bye-bye.